Why did our pond transform from perfect to fish kill disaster? What looked like a healthy, thriving pond collapsed within days to find us with dead snails, murky water, dead fish, and heartbreak. Here's the sequence, what we've learned, and what other pond owners can watch out for. Every pond has a story, and ours is the story of a 2.5-acre pond here in Pennsylvania that's been the centerpiece of our property and a gathering place for our community. Friends and family fish here. The local fire company uses it for tanker training and as a source to fill their tankers for emergency fire situations. We have national competition duck dog training here. And we also have a group of older men who find that this is their place for ice fishing in the winter. And I don't know if you can see behind me, but there may be a couple of geese here that find this is a wonderful resting place for them too. But what happened recently was a shock, and a chain of events happened that our beautiful, healthy pond turned into a struggling ecosystem almost overnight. And we want to share that story, not to put blame, but to help other pond owners who one day may face a similar circumstance. 2 months ago, August, our pond received a routine treatment from our aquatic control service. Within days, we noticed something really alarming. Hundreds of thousands of snails dying at one time, floating on the surface. They're called the mystery snail. The die-off didn't just remove an important part of the food chain. The cleanup was more than we were prepared to handle. So while some of the dead snails swept away down our overflow pipe, most sank to the bottom of the pond. And it created an enormous amount of decaying matter in the water, which became fuel for something else, Euglena. Euglena is a type of single-celled algae-like organism, and under normal conditions, it may go unnoticed. But when nutrient levels spike, when masses of snails decay, Euglena can explode into a bloom, and that's exactly what happened. As the Euglena population skyrocketed, oxygen levels plummeted. Algae blooms like this often lead to oxygen crashes, especially overnight, when the algae switch from producing oxygen to consuming it. And even though we had 6 diffusers running to aerate the water, the bloom was so extreme that it still was not enough to keep the oxygen levels safe. We felt like we were at the point of no return. Adding more chemical treatment to an already stressed and oxygen depleted pond was not the answer. We thought perhaps a good rain, a thunderstorm would be helpful, but the opposite can be true. And here's the paradox. Yes, rain adds oxygen to a pond by agitating the surface water, which increases the water's contact with the atmosphere and allows oxygen to dissolve into it. The splashing and mixing effect of the heavy rains can be a natural form of aeration. However, the overall impact of a large rainfall, especially a thunderstorm, can sometimes lead to a decrease in dissolved oxygen by mixing oxygen-poor bottom layers to the surface, stirring up decomposing organic matter and increasing bacterial and algae activity. And that's what happened. The oxygen levels plummeted even more after a thunderstorm. And then the worst. Before long, fish began to die. Seeing fish struggling at the surface and then floating lifeless was heartbreaking. And it wasn't just us who felt it. Friends who came to fish couldn't. I didn't even want our dogs to swim in the rancid water. Our community pond had become a loss instead of a connection. Our pond service company could do little but help us scoop out the dead fish so that their decomposing bodies wouldn't further contribute to the disaster. We had never heard of Euglena until this event. After further study, it may be a stubborn problem to clear up. Even though it appears to be resolving, next spring we may see a new resurgence now that it has become established. And we are hopeful that introducing beneficial bacteria, additives to the pond, may actually help control the Euglena. The beneficial bacteria helps to reduce the excess nutrients like phosphorus and nitrogen that fuels the growth of Euglena, and it helps create a healthier pond. This may help while our pond snail population rebalances. We'll see. We're researching this one further. In the meantime, we've decided to surrender and allow nature to take its course. And we hope that winter will lead to a healthy spring resurgence of our pond's natural habitat. One of the hardest parts of this experience is that we don't even know the exact chemical mix and quantity that triggered it. And in a way, that's part of the lesson. For years, we simply trusted our pond management service and that everything would be fine. We signed the annual contract and paid the bills. We didn't ask many questions. What did it matter? Everything was hunky-dory. But being pond owners means taking responsibility for and understanding what's happening in the water. And professionals are important, but it's still our pond. The buck stops with us. Here's a few lessons that we've learned. One, if you're using a pond management service, be proactive and ask questions. In this case, we'll keep our managers because we believe that they also learn from this event too and will better service and their other customers in the future. You can monitor the oxygen levels by using a simple water testing kit, and you'll know when the pond is starting to see signs of stress. And don't assume that aeration alone will prevent all your problems. We already had 6 diffusers running year-round, and during normal times, they've been more than enough. But in this case, the sudden Euglena bloom overwhelmed even that system. Aeration is important, but it's not a guarantee. Study your pond, educate yourself on its unique ecosystem, and learn natural ways to keep your pond in balance. Know its cycles and rhythms so that you can recognize any early warning signs of chaos. Recovery in our pond is going to take some time, but nature is resilient, and I see signs that our pond is already recovering, and we believe it will return to full health. We're sharing this experience not as experts, but as pond owners, learning along the way. And if you're facing similar situations, a fish kill, an algae bloom, or an oxygen crash, you're not alone. These things happen, and there are steps to understand, respond, and recover. If this video helped you, we'd love to hear your story in the comments. And if you care for a pond, consider subscribing. We'll keep sharing what we learn as our pond continues its journey back to full recovery. And so, thanks for watching, and here's to a healthy pond.